Blinding light surged across the battlefield as the hero's blade clashed violently with the Demon King's final attack, raw power crackling in every direction. In that breathtaking moment, his strike tore through the Dark Monarch, ending a war that had swallowed countless lives. As the monster's massive body collapsed, blood and energy spilled like a storm, painting the skies crimson. The final message burned itself into the world's memory. The Demon King had fallen, slain by the chosen hero of another realm. From the ashes of war, cheers rose for the lone warrior who had delivered peace to the continent. His figure, standing tall and resolute, became a symbol of salvation for those who once despaired. A soft exhale escaped his lips as the weight of his mission lifted. With eyes full of quiet relief, he looked ahead and whispered a thought he had buried for too long: he could finally go home. And then, as if answering that unspoken desire, a divine voice echoed from the heavens. Bathed in divine light, an ethereal figure descended from the stars, her voice calm yet resonant as she acknowledged his choice to save the world once more. There was no celebration, just a quiet, celestial grace recognizing his sacrifice. Floating amidst the cosmic void, she praised him for walking the path of a savior again. Her presence radiated both serenity and power, as if holding the threads of fate in her hands. Facing her, he exhaled with weariness and a hint of sarcasm, reflecting on how every encounter with her came down to choices, ones he never truly had. Still, all he wanted now was a simple confirmation that he could finally return home. She responded gently, promising to send him back to his original world. But he wasn't done. His voice rose with years of frustration as he questioned her authority to abduct him, exploit his talent for 2 decades, and now dismiss him without so much as a reward. His demand wasn't for riches or glory, just one simple wish: to keep the memories he had forged during this painful journey. A piece of the life he fought for, to carry with him. Her response was distant yet firm. Time, she explained, had remained still in his world while he was gone. No days were lost, no years stolen. As far as Earth was concerned, he had never left. He stood silently beneath the vast sky, his breath catching in his throat as he looked upward. No words came, only the weight of 2 decades of struggle, lingering on his lips like frost in the cold stillness. Hovering in her palm like a fragile keepsake, he sighed in surrender, his pride giving way to exhaustion. With a weary glance upward, he muttered his final request: just get it over with and send him home. Glowing rings of light spiraled across the void, carrying the divine promise of justice. Her voice echoed through the stars, assuring him that his time and sacrifice would not go unrewarded. Nestled within her open hand, he stood motionless, his gaze lowered, his armor faintly shimmering as if bracing himself for whatever compensation the gods deemed fair. A radiant burst of golden light pierced the darkness as divine words echoed softly: he wouldn't remember this reward himself. Yet, from the heart of that brilliance, a fragment of godly power emerged, offered as a silent gift, one final blessing for a forgotten hero. As the energy swirled around him, a final truth was revealed. This new world would not be fixed or static. It would bend, evolve, and shift according to the choices he made. And with that weight settling on his shoulders, he could only stand in silence. His voice broke through the silence, low and resolute, as a single word slipped from his lips, charged with the weight of a new beginning and the burden of power yet to unfold. Standing in the divine palm, he looked up with a mix of defiance and desperation, asking for even the smallest clue to guide him. But the answer came swiftly, unyielding and absolute: no. Frustration flared in his voice as he lashed out, demanding to keep just one thing: his memories of the world he'd bled for. But her silent smile and gentle gaze offered no change, only quiet finality. A single touch sent him reeling backward as the divine command rang out, stern, unrelenting, and final. There was no more room for questions, only departure. Panic flared across his face as he threw up a hand, desperation cutting through his voice. He wasn't ready, not yet. Something was still unresolved. His shout echoed through the void, raw and unfiltered: I'm not done talking. But the goddess, already mid-cast in divine light, remained composed, her hands moving with silent finality as the transfer began. With a serene smile and glowing eyes that held the weight of destiny, she uttered the final decree: he would return to where it all began, to the world that would now shape his fate. A final promise drifted from the heavens: she would continue to watch over him. But her voice faded quickly, replaced by a rush of air and a blur of light as the descent began. tumbling helplessly through the void, he screamed against the pull of space and fate. His figure spun downward, swallowed by the brilliance of rebirth. His face twisted in shock and disbelief as the fall intensified, hair whipping upward, mouth frozen in a silent scream caught between worlds, and with no control over where he'd land. Light exploded around him as his body neared impact, the brilliance fading into sharp silence. Slowly, his eye flickered open, confused, dazed, and barely able to register the world beginning to take shape before him. Gasping awake in a wash of sunlight, he clutched his forehead, disoriented and squinting at the glare. The softness of the bed, the familiar ceiling, it all felt unreal, as if the chaos of another world had been nothing more than a dream. Still groggy, he sat up with a sluggish yawn, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. The warmth of the room and weight of reality pressed in, unfamiliar in its normalcy after so long in a world of gods and monsters. As he glanced at the glowing screen in his hand, something felt off, not in a bad way, but in a way that left him unnervingly clear-headed. The time read 9:02, yet it felt like he'd just awoken from a lifetime. His eyes narrowed at the flood of messages on the screen, all from his manager, all increasingly frantic. The normalcy of it hit like a wave. Late for work, overslept. As if nothing had changed at all. Bursting out the door in a frenzy, he tore down the street with panic in his voice and a backpack flailing behind him. The divine fall was over. Now came the rush of real-world chaos he barely remembered how to handle. Inside the convenience store, he bowed repeatedly under the weight of a scolding. His manager's voice rang out sharp and frustrated, while he apologized over and over, grounded once again in the ordinary struggles of his former life. Forcing a shaky smile, he muttered under his breath with bitter irony. After 20 years as a world-saving hero, the first thing he wished for now was to experience being poor for just one day. As a discount lunch tray slid across the counter, he stared at it with quiet despair. The mundane reality of tight wallets and cheap meals hit harder than any battle. How was this his life again? Leaning on the counter with a heavy sigh, he stared blankly ahead, thoughts spiraling. Even with 2 jobs, the overdue rent loomed like a shadow, and deep down, he knew this one wouldn't last either. Just as the bitter thought crossed his mind, a strange light stirred in the air around him. His eyes widened, breath hitching as something unseen brushed against reality. Huh? Glowing lines of data shimmered into existence around him as he stood frozen, staring into the air before him. Something unseen had activated, like the world itself was rebooting in response to him. His eyes widened, lips parting in stunned silence as multicolored lights danced before him. Whatever was happening, it wasn't normal, and it was happening to him. A soft murmur escaped him as the world around blurred into radiant white, rainbow hues trailing through the air like static. He could only whisper one word, unsure if he was awake or awakening. A crystalline message floated in the ether: awakened. The word pulsed with power, shattering the mundane veil around him as new forces stirred into motion. Armored warriors and arcane users emerged through the light, each radiating strength and intent. They were the awakened individuals reborn with abilities beyond normal humans, now simply known as users. Suspended above the city in a glowing circle of magic, a figure conjured fire from her palm as if it were second nature. It had been 5 years since augmented reality fused with fantasy, reshaping the world into something unrecognizable, something magical. Armed with bows, blades, and courage, fighters clashed within chaotic landscapes known as field zones of power that began sprouting across Earth. In just a few years, the world had shifted, its economy and survival now tied to the strange resources these places offered. Fanged beasts with glowing eyes and savage claws fell beneath cold steel as users unleashed their newfound power. It was their role now to fight, conquer, and carve order from the chaos of monster-infested fields. Golden coins rained through blood-red light, a reminder that in this new world, even the smallest tasks within the fields could turn a profit. Danger had become an economy and survival a business. Dozens of desperate hands reached skyward, clawing for falling coins bathed in golden light. In a world where power meant profit, everyone dreamed of becoming a user no matter the cost. Jewels and currency floated through the air like tempting bait, glimmering with promise. The unknown world was dangerous, but its rewards were intoxicating. Still, not every user struck it rich. Most paid the price without ever tasting the honey. While some were blessed with extraordinary abilities, the moment they awakened wielding rare weapons and magic with ease, others found themselves powerless, struggling to survive in a world where strength decided everything. At the very peak of power stood a legend, Muhammad Al, the world's #1 ranker. The first to hit level 70 and bearer of the SS grade trait Dragon Speech. He was a symbol of what every user dreamed of becoming. With the world watching, Muhammad Al posted a video to his personal channel. It wasn't just an update, it was a declaration from the top, sparking immediate buzz across millions of screens. Phones lit up across the city as crowds paused mid-step, curiosity pulling them in. A single video, posted by the top ranker, was enough to grip the attention of millions in moments. Huddled around a single screen, students gasped and laughed in disbelief, eyes locked on the footage. Whatever Muhammad Al had posted, it was impossible to look away. With his cloak billowing and sword at the ready, he charged headfirst into a corrupted wasteland teeming with monstrous limbs. Alone, unshaken, and unstoppable, his every step demanded the world's attention. Grotesque monsters with pulsing veins and tangled tentacles erupted from the ground, their shrieks splitting the air as they charged. The battlefield was alive with chaos, and he was diving straight into it. A radiant crest ignited in midair, its golden emblem slashing through the void with divine force. The battlefield lit up in a swirl of energy, the mark of a power far beyond ordinary users. A grotesque creature writhed in agony, golden tendrils bursting from its flesh as dark smoke curled behind it. Above the chaos, a single phrase lingered, the dream of all mages, hinting at a power worth killing for. With flames erupting behind him and a blazing spell lighting up the battlefield, Muhammad Al descended like a god of war. It was the kind of magic every fantasy reader dreamed of, pure, overwhelming, and unforgettable. Explosions ripped through the horde as searing flames engulfed the monsters, their agonized screams drowned beneath the roar of destruction. His magic tore through them like judgment from the skies. The screen lit up with cosmic destruction, and the students watching it nearly lost their minds. "Meteor," they screamed, faces twisted in awe and disbelief. This wasn't just magic, it was spectacle on a godly scale. Fingers trembled around the phone as flames danced across the screen. "Crazy," someone whispered, unable to believe they were witnessing a spell once thought to exist only in fiction, now unleashed in reality. Staring at the screen in disbelief, students murmured questions that echoed worldwide. A grade field taken solo. Even at level 70, the sheer impossibility of it left them stunned. This was power beyond logic. Blazing meteors crashed down in waves, consuming everything in blinding flames. Nothing survived their descent, scorched earth, shattered monsters, and a message clear as day: nothing could stand in his way. A final meteor tore through the sky like divine judgment, slamming into the battlefield with explosive force. The flames surged higher, turning the landscape into a burning inferno of annihilation. As the smoke cleared, he stood alone in the scorched ruins, unshaken and victorious. Not even monsters capable of leveling cities could withstand the fury he unleashed. Against him, devastation was a certainty. The broken corpses of monsters lay scattered across the cracked earth, steam rising from their charred remains. How could they ever hope to defy the fury of nature itself? And as the footage faded to black, one final message lingered. With a quiet smirk and a calm voice, he leaned into the camera. The screen darkened around him, tension thick as silence, until his final words echoed out, unforgettable and chilling. Bathed in golden light, Muhammad Al stood tall with his staff in hand and a finger to his lips. With calm precision, he named the spell SS-grade Meteor Rain and issued a cryptic countdown. 1 week from now, everything would change. Suspended in radiant light, the elemental ring gleamed with unmatched elegance. This wasn't just a relic, it was the first and only publicly revealed SS-grade artifact, and now it was the prize of a global challenge. Bathed in digital glow, the screen declared its worth, an accessory so powerful, every magic-type user craved it. The elemental ring wasn't just rare, it was the stuff of dreams, the peak of magical ambition. As the video played on, the comments section exploded with disbelief. Viewers fixated on the ring, stunned that even Muhammad Al owned just one. Silence lingered on screen, proof that the world had just been shaken. A hand slapped the phone shut with clear irritation. With a scoff, the viewer dismissed the spectacle, annoyed not by the power on display, but by the arrogance behind it. "What a jerk," she muttered. Another voice chimed in, this time more grounded. With a serious look, he pointed out the obvious: offering such a prize alone was monumental, enough to shake the balance of power on its own. Seated across from each other in a sunlit cafe, she crossed her arms and sighed. To her, the offer wasn't generosity, it was bait. He wasn't giving the artifact away, he was dangling it like a challenge. Irritated and clutching her phone, she scoffed at the absurdity of the offer. An SS-grade skill was already the pinnacle, how could anyone surpass it? She saw through it immediately. This wasn't an opportunity, it was a trap veiled in magical conditions. With a confident smile, he extended the glowing ring toward the viewer, calm and resolute. He made it clear: no panel of judges, no contest rules, he alone would determine who was worthy. Her frustration boiled over as she pointed out the obvious flaw: he alone would decide the outcome. To her, it was nothing but a sham. He had no real intention of giving the elemental ring to anyone. Unable to contain her outrage, she slammed her cup on the table and shouted in a mix of fury and envy, calling him a jealous jerk. Her indignation filled the room as she fumed over how infuriating he was. Though many viewers couldn't help but envy the overwhelming display of power, their fascination quickly turned into obsession. The video exploded in popularity, with news segments and influencers everywhere dissecting Muhammad Al's SS-grade skill and the mysterious item he flaunted. His flex had unintentionally become a global sensation. Speculation ran wild across the media, with experts and reporters questioning the authenticity of the elemental ring and even debating whether it was truly SS-grade. But despite the flurry of theories and hot takes, to most people, Muhammad Al's challenge felt like an unreachable tale, a fantasy far beyond their grasp. Under a peaceful blue sky, a foot clad in simple sandals stepped onto the grass. A curious, round creature with wide eyes looked up, startled by the sudden appearance, its tiny body frozen in surprise as if sensing the beginning of something extraordinary. Startled by the sudden movement, the round creature leapt into the air as the young man fell backward into the tall grass, caught off guard by the unfamiliar surroundings and the unexpected encounter. He stood silently beneath the warm sunlight, his eyes narrowed with confusion as he tried to make sense of what just happened. With strange creatures now calmly observing him from the grass, it felt like peace had returned, but something about the atmosphere hinted that this tranquility was only temporary. Two fingers traced a swift arc through the air, as if casting a spell or activating a hidden mechanism, slicing the darkness with deliberate intent. Flaming meteors rained down from a celestial rift, their fiery trails painting the sky with destruction as they hurtled toward the earth like divine judgment. Bathed in divine fire and shadow, he stood with glowing eyes beneath the meteor storm, his hand raised in silent command as if he were the one who summoned the heavens' wrath. A blazing meteor smashed into the earth with catastrophic force, engulfing everything in a blinding explosion as shockwaves ripped through the battlefield like the wrath of a god. Surrounded by swirling smoke and glowing embers, he stood atop a jagged pillar of stone, silent and unmoved, like a lone sovereign surveying the destruction he had unleashed. Flames surged along the cracked cliffside, climbing like a living tide as heat shimmered through the scorched air. His power had not just struck, it had ignited the entire world around him. As the last embers drifted down from the sky, he stood in silence, staring at the devastation with a dazed expression, barely able to process the fact that he had just cast meteor rain. Still catching his breath in the smoky aftermath, he looked up with a wide, thrilled grin, throwing a thumbs up toward the sky as he shouted in admiration, genuinely blown away by the grandeur of Muhammad Al's meteor rain. With an eager grin and trembling excitement, he uploaded the video titled Elemental Ring Event Participation, his heart pounding as the view count started at 0, his bold challenge to the world officially launched. The man at the computer jolted in disbelief, his face twisted in astonishment as he stared at the screen, unable to process what he was seeing. Elsewhere, news of the video spread like wildfire. One viewer clutched his notepad in shock, while another nearly dropped his coffee, both stunned by the bold entry submitted by a complete unknown. Fingers danced rapidly across the keyboard in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by the screen's glow. Somewhere, someone had begun analyzing or responding to the video with intense urgency. Comments poured in at lightning speed as viewers debated the authenticity of the display. Some questioned the field's level, others speculated on the skill's true nature, each voice adding to the frenzy surrounding the mysterious, world-shaking video. The digital world erupted in collective disbelief as a single message flashed across the screen. Muhammad all lost. Shock rippled through countless anonymous users, their expressions frozen in awe and confusion, unable to process what they had just witnessed. As the shock settled, a new message popped up. Just. Who is this person? The screen glowed with curiosity, the username insignificant compared to the growing buzz. A radiant blue star blazes to life above as a muscular figure reaches toward it, his hand glowing with purpose. As the energy spirals downward, the narration reveals that every user, upon awakening, is granted a unique trait, a gift that sets their path apart from all others in this augmented world. 3 chibi-style characters stand in a spotlight, each representing different roles: a healer, a tank, and a mage. Above them float symbols denoting healing, defense, and mystery. The narration explains that a user's unique trait enhances specific skills, functioning much like a class in a game, shaping how they fight and progress. Against a mystical blueprint-like backdrop, 4 glowing blocks display names of legendary traits: Dragon Tongue, Miracle, Regeneration, and Finisher. The narration notes that these are among the most renowned unique traits recognized globally, hinting at their overwhelming power and the prestige they carry in the awakened world. Muhammad Al, the top-ranked user, possesses the powerful Dragon Tongue trait, which makes him a mage stronger than even dragons. Bathed in a soft golden glow, she clasps her hands in quiet prayer, her expression serene and focused. The intricate light patterns swirling around her shimmer like divine blessings, hinting at a power awakened within. The atmosphere is reverent, almost sacred, as if the very air around her responds to her presence. A calm yet imposing figure grips his massive shield, half shrouded in shadow, exuding the resilience of a true frontline warrior. Behind him, an ethereal glow hints at miraculous healing abilities powerful enough to defy death itself. Muscles tense and scars visible, he embodies raw endurance, standing tall as a symbol of survival and unyielding strength. Bathed in a crimson glow, he steps forward with unwavering confidence, sword gleaming with intent. His sharp eyes lock on the unseen threat ahead, carrying the lethal assurance of one who ends battles decisively. Every movement radiates purpose, the kind of warrior built not to fight endlessly, but to finish things. Amid all these formidable powers, one question emerges with intensity and curiosity. What exactly is the trait known as Skill Master? Seated at his desk in quiet focus, he types away under the soft morning light, the faint clatter of keys echoing in the still room. His posture is steady, expression unseen, but the atmosphere hints at urgency, like he's searching for something deeper than just information. His eyes narrow with determination as he continues typing, fully immersed in his search. Thoughts about the importance of trait grades swirl in his mind, how society instantly judges value by ranking, believing that higher grades mean stronger, more effective powers. As his browser loads a familiar video site, the narration in his mind continues. Traits aren't just about grade, but also the number of sub-traits they carry. The grading scale, ranging from F to the coveted SS, defines how powerful and valuable a user's abilities are considered by society. He exhales slowly, raising his hand as a glowing interface materializes in front of him. With a mix of tension and anticipation in his eyes, he calls up the status window, his way of finally confronting whatever truth lies ahead. As the glowing interface reveals his information, the words X-Grade Skill Master send a jolt of disbelief through him. The rarity of such a trait, unknown and seemingly overpowered, leaves him stunned. Though his stats are bare bones, he can't help but sense the overwhelming potential lurking beneath that title. He slumps over the desk in disbelief, frustration creeping in as he compares his meager stats to what high-grade traits are supposed to offer. Even ordinary users seem to outclass him, and yet he reminds himself there's still hope in the mysterious trait he possesses. The protagonist examines the X-grade trait Skill Master, which allows the use of all skills and provides daily SP income. While impressed, he's puzzled by the lack of subtraits and wonders if skill books will help unlock its full potential. Confused by the unfamiliar system, he stares at the glowing interface and scratches his neck, trying to make sense of it all, especially the mysterious SP value that seems crucial yet undefined. Leaning back in his chair, he stares at the floating screens with a conflicted expression, questioning whether the rare skill master trait is truly a blessing or something far less promising. Two glowing system prompts appear out of nowhere, one announcing a tutorial quest and the other unlocking a powerful skill called Skill Copy. As he reads the instructions, surprise flashes across his face. He's never heard of quests triggering immediately after awakening. He forces a laugh, trying to stay optimistic, but the realization hits hard. Copying someone's skill would mean heading out into the dangerous field. With all his stats stuck at 1, it wouldn't be training, it'd be suicide. He rests his cheek on his hand, deep in thought, reluctantly admitting that he should at least browse through some skills just in case things take a turn he can't avoid. His eyes widen in surprise as something unexpected flashes across the screen, catching him off guard mid-thought and snapping him out of his casual browsing. A powerful figure unleashes a blazing barrage of meteors, his cloak billowing as flames swirl around him, his presence commanding and overwhelming, like a force of nature on the battlefield. A detailed system window reveals the power of Meteor Rain SS, a devastating spell that calls down 20 meteors with massive mana requirements and bonus power scaling. Below it, another prompt unveils a special tutorial event, granting access to a unique zone where stats are temporarily boosted and copied skills can be tested freely, an ideal training ground cloaked in opportunity. As a glowing prompt hovers before him, asking if he wants to copy the devastating Meteor Rain SS skill, he stares in stunned silence until the realization hits. It actually works. Shock turns to awe as the system confirms his ability, validating the true power of his seemingly mysterious trait. A single thought echoes in disbelief. He can copy skills even through video. The screen pulses with energy as he begins to grasp the full extent of his trait, the impossible now within reach. The monitor flickers to life, revealing his own image pointing forward with glowing eyes, confident, defiant, and aware of his power. It's no longer just an awakening, it's a declaration. Lounging in a plush robe, he swirls a glass of wine with a calm smile as music plays, and a video titled Elemental Ring Event Participation hums in the background. His demeanor is relaxed, yet every detail hints at someone watching closely, waiting to see how things unfold. With a single press of the remote, the screen flickers off, cutting the video short. The quiet click of the power down leaves a sense of finality hanging in the air. The woman stands confidently, remote still in hand, her expression sharp and inquisitive as she questions the significance of the elemental ring. The man, seated with wine in hand, looks up calmly, hinting that the topic carries more weight than she realizes. He swirls his wine with a smirk, voice laced with amusement as he points out how little time has passed since the skill was acquired. The casual confidence in his tone reveals how unlikely he believes it is for anyone else to replicate such a feat. She responds calmly, her tone steady as she offers a practical counterpoint, reminding him that the world holds plenty of skills with similar effects. Her composed expression hints at skepticism, unconvinced that this one skill is truly irreplaceable. She presses the point, questioning what it would mean if the skill truly is SS grade and carries the exact same name. He remains composed, stating there's no official confirmation of its rank. Yet beneath his calm demeanor, he concedes at the very least it's powerful enough to be considered SS grade. A sly smile forms as he raises his glass, the reflection of the woman flickering in the crimson swirl. His tone is cool, confident at the very least. What they're witnessing is the work of an SS-grade unique trait. Seated confidently on the couch, he calmly gives orders, sipping his drink with poise. He instructs her to pass on the ring and a card, no direct contact yet. The target is cautious, and for now, it's best to observe from a distance. Inside the elegant case, the elemental ring gleams, A chibi version of him hums and suggests presenting it simply as a gift for someone you hope to be friends with someday. The young man stands behind the counter of a brightly lit convenience store, eyes locked on his phone with a look of disbelief. Surrounded by shelves of neatly stocked goods, he murmurs in awe, completely stunned by how fast the view count has skyrocketed. He spins around in surprise as a floating notification confirms the video recording is complete, the memory chip glowing with stored data. Just as the weight of that realization hits him, a customer interrupts with a casual question, snapping him back to reality. A cheerful grin spreads across his face as he watches the video, all while helping a young customer at the counter. Hidden behind the screen and unrecognizable, he remains completely anonymous despite his growing reach. A surge of excitement hits him as he realizes the value of what he recorded. Grinning nervously, he decides this can't go to waste, while the kid beside him tugs at his sleeve for attention. A wild grin spreads across his face as the potential of his ability sinks in. He knows it could be unstoppable if he gets stronger. But his gloating is cut short by someone calling out to him. He jolts in surprise, caught off guard as a stern-looking man at the counter snaps at him. The mood shifts instantly as he realizes he's not alone in the store anymore. Under pressure from the intense customer, he instantly switches to a cheerful tone, nervously assuring that they do have the jelly and rushing to serve it, masking his panic behind a wide, strained smile. The entrance bell chimes softly as the door opens, breaking the quiet of the convenience store with the arrival of a new customer. He slumps onto the counter with a deep sigh, exhaustion and frustration weighing on his shoulders after the chaotic chain of events. He rests his head on the counter, drained and doubtful, muttering in disbelief there's no chance they'd actually hand out something as valuable as an SS-grade item. A faint smile forms on his face as he leans forward on the counter, imagining the unlikely scenario: what if, by some miracle, the ring was real and actually given away? Gold coins float through a dreamy background, capturing his vivid fantasy. Owning that ring could mean unimaginable wealth, enough to leave behind his ordinary life forever. Bathed in a radiant glow, he envisions himself standing tall like a legendary hero, powerful, admired, and watched by the entire world, chasing a dream that now feels just within reach. A quiet, confident smile forms on his lips, a subtle reflection of how drastically life has changed. Just recently, a future like this would have been unimaginable. He stretches behind the counter, a quiet confidence lighting up his face. For the first time, he feels a spark of purpose, like he's finally capable of chasing something real. A notification lights up his phone, a new comment on the video. The moment feels small, but the buzz it brings signals the start of something much bigger. As the screen fills with rapid-fire comments, one shocking message stands out: Muhammad himself offers the elemental ring with no conditions. The chat erupts with disbelief and speculation, some doubting his sincerity, others vouching for his unwavering word. The moment shifts from fantasy to potential reality in an instant. His eyes widen, frozen in disbelief as he stares at his phone. A comment flashes across the screen, recalling the time Muhammad paid $2 billion in cash for grade staff, proving his outrageous promises are never empty. As a bold comment praises Muhammad as a total badass, the shock finally catches up. He stares at the screen, confused and overwhelmed, barely able to process what just happened. The woman calmly introduces herself as Muhammad Al's assistant, stating she's here regarding the delivery of the elemental ring. He sits stiffly on the couch, visibly stunned by how real things have suddenly become. Seated tensely in the back seat of a luxury car, he listens as the assistant politely informs him they'll escort him home. Before he can process it all, she adds that the master Muhammad Al wishes to meet him personally. His eyes widen, overwhelmed by the surreal turn his life is taking. A soft light filters in as he lifts his hand to eye level, the elemental ring now resting silently on his finger. The moment feels surreal quiet, reflective, as if he's still processing the weight of what just happened. He lies on his bed, staring at the ring on his hand with a dazed expression. Confused by how real everything feels, he questions if the whole thing might be a fake. He scans the ring's description with wide eyes, stunned by its overwhelming stats: bonus mana, regeneration, and even recovery on kills. It's clearly beyond anything he expected. Overwhelmed, he stares in disbelief, realizing the item is far from ordinary. Energized by the ring's overwhelming buffs, he jolts upright, no longer content with staying idle. The surge in his magic stat lights a fire in him. If there was ever a time to act, it's now. He knows he needs to hit the field and put this power to use. He opens the status window, only to be reminded of his harsh reality. Every stat is still at the lowest possible level. Despite the powerful ring, his base remains weak, and he knows jumping into battle like this would be reckless. He sits on the edge of his bed, staring at the glowing status window while contemplating his next move. Despite the boost in magic, he knows he can't survive without armor, yet affording it is another battle altogether. Determined, he grabs his jacket from the chair and prepares to head out. The cluttered room around him reflects the urgency of his decision. There's no time to waste if he wants to change his fate. He checks the massive number of comments under his video, hopeful that the viral attention will translate into income. The flood of reactions, both praise and skepticism, proves just how explosive the impact of his actions was. He stiffens with anxiety, overwhelmed by the pressure of fame. Though the attention could bring rewards, he's not ready to reveal who he really is not when so much still feels uncertain. He sits in front of his computer, chin resting on his hand, lost in thought. Despite his recent success, his expression reflects a restless uncertainty as he wonders if there's a smarter way forward, something better than revealing his identity just yet. His eyes widen with sudden realization, a spark of inspiration flashing across his face. Something unexpected just clicked, and it might be the breakthrough he was searching for. He stares at the screen, absorbing every word of the forum post that highlights the real value of healers in the field. The text breaks down the reality while some look down on them. Healing skills are an overlooked gold mine. Emergency healers earn massive amounts just by staying near dungeon entrances. The final note sinks in. Without healers, no one would dare step into danger. He locks onto the details on the screen. This is the breakthrough he was looking for. Selling emergency heals isn't just viable, it's a fortune. Restoring limbs, fractures, and status effects can net hundreds of thousands. The realization hits. He's found a way to turn his skills into serious income. A confident grin spreads across his face as he imagines the possibilities. Even getting just one client a day could bring in a massive income. With his newly discovered path, he finally feels like he's found a profitable, game-changing purpose. He sets up at a quiet corner of Seoul Grand Park's D-grade swamp field, a modest sign beside him. Though it's not a prime location, he accepts it with a sigh. Every prime spot was already taken. Still, he's determined to make it work. As he sits waiting with nothing to do, he scrolls through his phone and mutters to himself, already regretting not bringing something to pass the time. The idle atmosphere leaves him restless, but he remains hopeful. A trail of blood splatters the pavement, followed by eerie silence. Then, from the mist, a cloaked figure appears, clutching their bleeding abdomen, staggering forward in desperate haste. Panic and urgency ripple through the scene as the injured figure pushes ahead, clearly fleeing from something terrifying behind them. He sits contentedly, humming to himself as he scrolls through his phone, reassuring himself that staying out of the field at least keeps him safe. Blissfully unaware of the danger closing in, he tries to focus on the small silver lining of avoiding combat. He chuckles confidently, convinced that nothing dangerous could happen outside the field just as a heavily armored stranger steps into view, shattering his sense of safety in an instant. A towering man steps into the light, half his face splattered with blood and one eye glowing with eerie power. Clutched in his arms is a bloodied figure, limp and barely conscious, an ominous sign that something brutal has just begun. His hands tremble as he stares at the screen, beads of sweat rolling down his face. Whatever he just saw has completely shattered his calm, leaving him frozen in wide-eyed disbelief. A single stunned thought floats in the silence. He's too shocked to process what just happened, barely managing to utter a confused, breathless response. With steady resolve, the man emerges into daylight, blood streaking his armor and cheek. His arms cradle the injured woman carefully, his eyes sharp and burning with quiet fury ready for retribution. Frozen in place, he stares ahead, a drop of sweat tracing down his cheek. The shock is unmistakable. Whatever he's witnessing has completely shattered his sense of safety. Standing tall with a commanding presence, the armored man approaches, the bloodied figure still cradled in his arms. His voice is firm, urgent. There's no room for hesitation now. The message is clear. It's time to act. He stares blankly, caught between confusion and disbelief, silently questioning the intensity of the situation unfolding before him. Annoyed by the stranger's commanding tone, he mentally questions the audacity, wondering how someone could speak so bluntly to a person they just met. The man behind the counter glares in disbelief as the sharply dressed stranger demands something vague. Internally, he scoffs, wondering if he's seriously being mistaken for a regular store clerk. The character, looking flustered and slightly frustrated, tries to justify himself by stating that even though his skill is copied, it's a high-quality C-grade healing skill with a valuable premium effect. Frustrated and clearly done with being underestimated, he snaps and demands 20 million up front, trying to assert control over the situation. He stares in disbelief, repeating the amount out loud, 20 million won, clearly shocked by the bold demand. Flustered but trying to maintain composure, he quickly steps aside and gestures politely, guiding the injured duo with an overly formal, "Right this way, sir," as if trying to smooth over the absurd price he just demanded. The red haze intensifies, completely consuming the frame in a storm of chaotic energy. Black streaks spread like venom through blood, and the swirling patterns pulse with the sense of an ancient force awakening beneath the surface. Something terrifying is about to emerge, powerful, destructive, and beyond human comprehension. The protagonist recoils in shock, his hand clamped over his mouth as his wide eyes reflect horror and disbelief. The ominous glow and the tension in his expression suggest he's sensing something dreadful. Perhaps the awakening force is already taking hold, and the consequences are about to unfold. The armored man carefully lays the injured woman on the ground, her midsection soaked in blood and her expression pale and lifeless. The severity of her wounds is unmistakable. This isn't just a rescue. It's a desperate race against time. He clamps down hard on the wound, applying pressure with both hands. It's a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding, his urgency written in every tense muscle and movement. The armored man grabs the protagonist by the collar and shouts at him to hurry, urgency and desperation written all over his face. The protagonist looks startled, overwhelmed by the sudden pressure. The protagonist, trembling and wide-eyed, admits to himself that he's only ever seen situations like this in movies, never in real life. The shock and fear are etched into his face as he struggles to process the chaos unfolding before him. His hand trembles as doubt creeps in. Will his copied skill even work? Uncertainty weighs heavy, and in this critical moment, he questions everything, unsure if he's about to save a life or watch it slip away. With everything on the line, he pushes aside his fear. Failure isn't an option, he has to make it work. A warm glow erupts from his hand, golden energy swirling around his fingers. His wide-eyed expression says it all. The skill is activating. Bathed in radiant light, he presses his glowing hand against the wounded girl's side. The knight kneels close by, tense with anticipation. Feathers drift gently through the air as the energy surges, signaling that the healing has truly begun. Feathers float gently in a sea of light, shimmering particles dancing through the air, an ethereal silence marking the success of a miracle just performed. The vertical bars suggest a pause, an intense, silent moment as the air settles. time seems to slow, emphasizing the weight of what just occurred. Relieved and exhausted, he collapses back with a deep sigh, his tense expression softening as the pressure finally lifts. The healing worked. He didn't expect the request for 3 heals. As he glances at the device displaying 2 more times, he realizes how close he came to exhausting himself. Thankfully, the elemental ring boosts his mana recovery by 20%, or he'd already be in serious trouble. He stares at his hand, still feeling the weight of the healing he just performed. The severity of the girl's injuries lingers in his mind, raising a chilling thought: what kind of nightmare is unfolding inside that field? Lying back in bed, he clenches his fist against his forehead, still processing everything. But one thing is clear: his life is never going to be the same again. Overwhelmed by the sight of cash fluttering all around him, his expression morphs into manic delight. Beside him, another man bursts into hysterical laughter, both lost in a surreal moment of greed-fueled ecstasy. He imagines himself triumphant, gleefully spraying bills from a money gun labeled money as he daydreams about leaving behind his convenience store job forever, finally feeling like he's struck gold. Now, holding real money and a cup of instant noodles, he stares ahead blankly, overwhelmed by a new question: what comes next? Now that he's finally gotten paid? His thoughts spiral upward like the stock market graph. He imagines now that he has money. Should he dive into investments? Stocks? The possibilities feel endless, and he's clearly not ready. Now his mind jumps to crypto, flashing graphs, spinning coins, and the dream of quick riches flood his imagination. The temptation is real, but so is the uncertainty. No, for now, a simple dessert will do. Amid all the dreams and decisions, a moment of calm takes priority. The yogurt lid, once licked clean, is casually tossed into the trash, an unspoken symbol that even in moments of peace, life keeps moving forward. Sitting cross-legged on a luxurious bed, he enjoys a rare moment of comfort, but his thoughts remain focused. He needs to earn SP if he wants to grow stronger. A system prompt flashes before him, a tutorial quest urging him to level up his sub-trait passive income. It explains that passive income is a key method for skill masters to earn SP and should be prioritized. Completing the quest promises 100 SP and the unlocking of a second sub-trait. He realizes the purpose behind trait levels. SP can be used to upgrade them, making growth a matter of strategic investment. Leveling up the passive income trait costs 100 SP, but completing the tutorial quest to do so grants 100 SP in return, effectively making the upgrade free and unlocking sub-trait 2 in the process. The character, now fully determined, resolves to complete the quest. While eating, he urgently checks his current SP balance through the system window, knowing that the quest's benefits are too valuable to miss. He sees his SP is only at 70. Calculating aloud, he notes that if his passive income gives him 10 SP a day, he'll need just 3 more days to afford the upgrade. He confidently declares that all he needs to do now is wait 3 days to complete the quest. A voice from the other side of the door announces, "Room service you ordered," breaking the silence and hinting at an unexpected interruption. With a spark of energy, he clenches his fist and responds confidently, "Yes, I'll be right there, ready to face whatever awaits beyond the door." He quickly shifts focus, abandoning the thought of rest. Now's the time to research and discover powerful skill combinations he can copy for future battles. A lively girl bursts onto the screen, dressed like a magical idol, twirling a blazing weapon with confidence. Her bright outfit and energetic pose radiate charisma as her name, Pony, flashes below, clearly a popular, flashy figure in this world. A lavish spread of gourmet dishes gleams under the light, succulent crab, roasted chicken, steak, pasta, and an assortment of fine sides. The glittering presentation emphasizes luxury and indulgence, suggesting the character is enjoying a well-deserved feast. The character, while casually eating, reflects on the rarity of high-tier abilities, noting that S-grade and above skills featured in past videos have now become virtually extinct. His thoughtful expression hints at the strategic challenges ahead. While enjoying a luxurious meal, he explains that even if he copies high-tier skills, they vanish after midnight. To use them again, he needs recorded footage, emphasizing the importance of maintaining access to visual data for strategic advantage. He reflects on how rare it was for Muhammad Al to publicly showcase an SS-grade skill, something most keep hidden. Grateful, he mentally dubs him the donation angel for unknowingly providing him with such a valuable opportunity. He pauses in deep thought, staring at his phone as he considers the possibilities. Maybe, just maybe, if he levels up enough, the copied skills he currently loses at midnight could become permanent. He scrolls through his video archive, planning to organize skills into separate playlists, some for immediate use, others for emergencies. Spotting a clip on muscle hardening, he decides to keep it stored just in case, acknowledging its potential utility later. He marvels at a video showing a mage using teleportation, instantly captivated by its flashiness. With growing excitement, he eagerly bookmarks skill after skill, each one cooler than the last. Delighted by the convenience, he grins and thinks to himself, "Online skill shopping is the best." The table is now a battlefield of empty plates and crumbs, evidence of a feast thoroughly devoured. Only traces of sauce and scraps remain, showing just how much food was inhaled in the excitement. Slumped back on the couch, his belly visibly bloated, he groans in defeat. One hand clutches his stomach while the other dangles limp at his side, he's stuffed to the brim. With a dazed look and flushed cheeks, he mutters, "Ugh, I can't take in any more." With a smug grin and a carefree hum, he proudly declares his accomplishment. He's officially registered as a healer with the User Association. His tone is light, almost playful, as if checking off the final box on a to-do list. "I've done it all," he beams, clearly satisfied with his progress. Lying flat on the bed, still stuffed from his feast, he stares at the ceiling with a dreamy look in his eyes. Thoughts of power dance in his mind, healing, buffs, magic. If he can truly master all of these, he wonders just how far his value could rise in the world. The possibilities seem limitless, and the spark of ambition lights up inside him. He daydreams with a goofy grin, eyes sparkling with fantasy. The idea of a beautiful woman reaching out in admiration sends him into a spiral of giddy thoughts. Lost in his own romantic delusion, he giggles to himself, convinced she's already blushing on the other end. A stunning woman steps forward, glowing with elegance and confidence. Her dark hair frames a calm yet radiant expression, and her stylish outfit-fitted top, high-waisted pants, and flowing cloak amplifies her commanding presence. Surrounded by light and floral patterns, she looks like she's walked straight out of the protagonist's fantasy. The two lock eyes in complete silence, him seated awkwardly on the ground, clutching his notepad, while she stands tall with an unreadable expression. The moment is tense and heavy, as if neither quite knows how to begin the conversation that clearly needs to happen. She cheerfully asks, "Don't you remember me?" with an excited expression. Meanwhile, he responds with a tense and clearly panicked yes, his face twisted in stress as sweat drips down, clearly recognizing her, but also regretting whatever memory just resurfaced. She laughs awkwardly, brushing off his attempt at flattery, while the armored man behind her calmly reminds him of their real connection. Her brother had come to him for treatment just a few days ago. Her smile hides the tension, while he stands firm, clearly expecting a serious follow-up. His eyes widen in shock as the memory flashes vividly before him. The very woman now smiling had once been cradled in her brother's bloodied arms. Realization hits hard, and all he can manage is a stunned as the connection finally clicks. He suddenly connects the dots. She's the one who had her arm severed during that brutal encounter. The money her brother paid now makes perfect sense. He had assumed she was a lover, but turns out she was his sister all along. The boy nervously asks if the other player is in a party, but the long-haired man casually responds with a firm no, while the third person stands silently, arms crossed. The boy continues his questions, now asking if the man is part of a guild. With the same nonchalant tone, the man replies, "Nope." Meanwhile, the boy secretly lights up with excitement, thinking this situation is perfect. The party leader urgently explains that they need a temporary healer. The protagonist, visibly unsure, thinks to himself that he's not ready to enter the field and considers declining the offer. A charming woman sweetly invites him to sit down for a cup of tea and chat, her tone gentle and graceful. She follows up by asking for his number, offering to contact him later. Flustered and blushing, he begins to agree to her request, clearly swayed by her charm until a sudden scream erupts nearby, interrupting the moment with chaos. Startled by the sudden scream, both of them glance toward the source in alarm. The woman remains composed yet alert, while he turns his head in shock, clearly not expecting the interruption. A panicked cry rings out as a teammate collapses from a status-inflicting attack. One of the party members urgently calls for a healer, demanding a cure-type spell to stabilize her condition. The woman suddenly yanks him by the collar with an intense glare, catching him completely off guard. His body jolts back in shock, eyes wide, unable to process what just happened. The boy hesitantly begins healing the fallen teammate, visibly shaking from pressure, while the armored ally looks on impatiently. As the spell works, the wounded man starts to recover, and in gratitude, the armored ally eagerly offers him a snack as thanks. The boy forces a nervous smile as he walks past the woman, clearly overwhelmed and trying to maintain his composure despite the pressure. He awkwardly apologizes, explaining that his level is too low to join the party, clearly embarrassed by his limitations. The woman tries to reassure him with a cheerful smile, casually explaining that their team already includes an S-grade tank and an S-grade mage, implying he has nothing to worry about if he joins. As the woman hesitantly suggests they could carry him, the two guys silently kneel on the ground and prepare to form a makeshift ride. She watches, stunned and speechless, unsure how to react to their overly literal interpretation. Tears stream down his face as he runs, embarrassed by his own actions. Deep down, he laments missing the rare chance to team up with someone so beautiful, realizing just how unlikely it is he'll ever get that opportunity again. He runs forward with fierce determination, vowing to prove himself. His heart burns with resolve as he pushes past his limits, determined to become someone worthy of standing beside the strong. He declares his goal with fiery ambition. He'll gather wealth and SP to rise through the ranks and become a top-tier gold spoon mage.